The coin hits the counter before Riven even sees the hand that drops it. It spins once, twice, then settles flat against the cracked wood with a sound so small it should not matter. But it does. It always does. The street outside the food stand is loud. Chicago in October is never quiet. Buses grind through intersections. Somebody 3 blocks over is arguing about money. A woman in a red coat walks fast, head down, like the wind owes her something. The smell of fried dough and cumin hangs in the air so thick you could wear it. Riven Hale stands behind his uncle's food cart on the corner of West 47th and Street Lawrence, and he is 17 years old, and he is tired, in that specific way that only comes from working a double shift on an empty stomach. He almost does not look down. Then the boy speaks. "How much for 2?" Riven looks up. The kid standing across the counter cannot be older than 12, maybe younger. It is hard to tell because hunger does something to a face. It sharpens it in places it should not be sharp yet. Cheekbones too defined, eyes too old. He is wearing a blue hoodie with a broken zipper, and the hood is pulled up even though the wind is not that bad, and his hands are pressed together in front of him like he is trying to hold something inside them. His sneakers are coming apart at the left sole. There is a small cut above his right eyebrow that nobody cleaned properly. He is looking at the food like it is the only real thing in the world. Riven looks at the coin on the counter. It is silver. Old. The kind of silver that does not come from a pocket or a piggy bank. There is something engraved on the face of it, a shape, a symbol, but Riven cannot make it out in the low evening light. He picks it up, turns it over. The back is smooth except for 3 small lines pressed into the metal like someone did it by hand. He looks back at the boy. "This isn't money," Riven says. The boy does not flinch. "I know, but it's worth more than money. One day." There is something about the way he says it, not like a child making up a story to get free food, like a person stating a fact they have already confirmed in private, certain, flat, like someone who has been hungry long enough to stop being embarrassed about it. Riven should say no. His uncle has a rule. The cart runs on margins so thin that one bad night can set them back a week. Every item counts. Every dollar counts. Riven wraps 2 orders of fried plantain and jerk chicken in brown paper and slides them across the counter. The boy stares at him. "Take it," Riven says. The boy takes it. He does not say thank you right away. He holds the food like he is making sure it is real first. Then he looks up, and for 1 second, just one, something in his face breaks open. Not into tears, not into relief exactly, into something quieter than both of those things. Recognition. Like he has been waiting for someone to do this, and now that it has happened, he does not quite know what to do with himself. "Thank you," he says. His voice is low, rough at the edges. Too rough for his age. Riven nods. "You got a name?" The boy looks at him for a long moment. Then, the corner of his mouth pulls up, just barely. "Everybody calls me Lil Pookie." Riven almost smiles. "That's not a real name." "It's the only one I'm using right now." And that is the start of it. Not dramatic, not loud. Just a coin on a counter, a paper bag of food, and a boy with a name that does not belong to him standing in the orange light of a Chicago evening like he has nowhere else to be. Which, as it turns out, he does not. Hi viewers, if someone made you a promise when they had absolutely nothing, would you still hold them to it when they finally had everything? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to know. Riven does not tell his uncle about the food. He makes up the difference from his own tip jar. The next evening, Pookie is back. He stands at the same corner, same hoodie, same broken sneaker. He does not say anything, just appears at the edge of the cart the way stray cats appear at back doors. Quiet, patient, like they have calculated exactly how much presence they can have before being turned away. Riven makes him a plate without being asked. Pookie eats standing up, facing the street, watching everything that moves. He does not volunteer information about himself. Riven does not push. But over the following 2 weeks, small things come out in pieces. He is not in school right now. He sleeps in different places. He has people he knows, but nobody he trusts. He is from the South Side originally, but he does not go back there. He notices everything. The way a car idles too long. The way 2 men standing on a corner shift their weight when a third one joins them. The way certain people avoid eye contact on purpose. He notices all of it and says nothing. Just files it somewhere behind those sharp, quiet eyes. Riven is an Omega. He has known this since he was 14. In this world, the designation matters in ways both obvious and invisible. Omegas are softer in scent, warmer in presence, and very often underestimated by the world around them. Riven has learned to use all 3. He is not weak. He is precise. There is a difference, and most people learn it too late. He does not know what Pookie is yet. The boy's scent is buried under layers of street and cold air and something metallic Riven cannot place. But there is a quality to the way Pookie stands near him, not leaning, not clingy, but oriented. Like a compass needle finding north without knowing why. On the 15th night, it is raining hard. The kind of rain that makes Chicago feel like a punishment. The cart is closed early because Riven's uncle pulled a muscle and went home. Riven stays to pack everything down, working fast under the plastic awning. And when he turns around, Pookie is already there, holding one side of the cart cover without being asked. They work in silence. When everything is locked and covered, they stand under the awning together, listening to the rain hit the street in sheets. You ever think about leaving? Pookie asks. Chicago? All of it. The corner, the cart, He stops, waves a hand at nothing specific and everything general. This. Riven thinks about it honestly. Sometimes, but I don't have a plan yet. Pookie nods slowly. I have a plan. Yeah? Yeah. He says it with that same flat certainty, not bragging, just reporting. I'm going to be rich, real rich, not just money in the pocket rich, like own things rich, change things rich. He pauses. The kind of rich where nobody can touch you. Riven looks at him sideways, at this 12-year-old boy in a broken hoodie, standing in the Chicago rain like he is already somewhere else in his mind. That's a big plan, Riven says. I know. How? Pookie glances at him. I'm still working on the how, but I know the what. The what is the important part first. Riven cannot argue with that logic. He has met grown men who do not have even that much figured out. The rain gets harder. Neither of them moves. Then Pookie says it, quiet, almost casual, like he is commenting on the weather. When I'm rich, I'll marry you. Riven turns and stares at him. Pookie is looking straight ahead at the rain. His jaw is set. His hands are in his pockets. He does not look embarrassed. He does not look like he is joking. He looks exactly the same as he does when he says anything else, certain, flat, confirmed in advance. You're a child, Riven says. I know. That's why I said when I'm rich, not now. That's... Riven stops. He does not have a clean sentence for what that is. It is strange. It is oddly specific. It is the kind of thing a person should laugh at. Why me? Pookie is quiet for a moment. Then, because you gave me food when you didn't have to, and you didn't make me feel like you were doing me a favor. He pauses. Most people, when they give you something, they want you to feel the weight of it. You didn't do that. Riven has nothing to say to that. They stand there until the rain slows down. When Riven gets home that night, he realizes he is still holding the silver coin. He does not remember picking it back up. He turns it over in his fingers, trying to make out the symbol on the face of it in the light above his kitchen sink. It is circular, layered, like something pressed into the metal with intention. He puts it on his nightstand. He tells himself he will give it back tomorrow. He does not sleep well. In the morning, he goes back to the corner. Pookie is not there. Riven waits through the full shift, checks both ends of the block, asks the woman who runs the flower stand across the street. She shrugs, says she has not seen the boy in the blue hoodie since yesterday evening. He is not there the next day either, or the day after. On the fourth day, Riven walks 6 blocks in every direction, asking anyone who might know. Nothing. A man outside the laundromat says he saw a black SUV parked near the corner 2 nights ago, idling, the kind that does not belong in this neighborhood. He does not remember the plates. Riven goes home that night and picks up the silver coin. He looks at the symbol engraved on its face for a long time. And then he understands. Not fully, not yet, but enough to feel it settle cold in the bottom of his chest. Whatever took Pookie away was not random. The police officer does not look up from his keyboard when Riven starts talking. He types something, pauses, types something else. There is a half-eaten sandwich on the corner of the desk, and a paper cup of coffee that has been cold for at least an hour, and the fluorescent light above the front desk flickers every 40 seconds with the consistency of a slow heartbeat. Riven stands on the other side of the counter with both hands flat on the surface and gives every detail he has. The blue hoodie, the broken left sneaker, the cut above the right eyebrow, the name, Lil Pookie. No last name, approximate age 11 or 12, no school, no fixed address. South Side originally. The officer finishes typing. He looks up. You a guardian? No. Family member? No. How do you know this individual? He came to my food cart every night for 2 weeks. Then he stopped. The officer looks at him with an expression that is not unkind, but is completely without urgency. Sir, without a legal guardian or family member to file, and without a last name or verified address, there is very little we can open here. Kids move around, especially in that area. He probably found somewhere else to be. There was a black SUV, Riven says, parked near the corner the night before he disappeared. Someone saw it. Did they get plates? No. The officer picks up his coffee, realizes it is cold, sets it back down. Leave your number at the window. If something comes in that matches, we'll call. Nothing comes in. Nothing matches. Nobody calls. Riven waits 3 weeks. He goes back twice more. Different officers. Same expressions. Same keyboard typing. Same result. The second time, a woman at the desk tells him, without looking up, that unhoused minors with no documentation are difficult to track. She says it like she is reading from a manual she has memorized, like the sentence has been used so many times that all the weight has been pressed out of it. Riven walks out of the precinct and stands on the sidewalk in the November cold and feels something happen inside him that is not dramatic, not explosive. It is the opposite of that. It is the slow, quiet collapse of a thing he did not know he was holding up. Hope has a specific weight. When it goes, you feel the place it was. He spends the next month doing what the system would not. He posts descriptions in community boards. He talks to shelters. He walks routes. He asks. He gets nowhere with any of it. But he keeps going because stopping feels like agreeing with the officer at the front desk. And he is not ready to do that. By December, he is ready. Not because he has given up, but because continuing to stay in the same corner of the same city, looking for someone who is no longer there, is its own kind of damage. He still has the coin. He keeps it in the front pocket of his jeans where his hand finds it without trying. This small silver weight that belongs to a boy whose real name he never learned. Riven is 19 now, old enough to leave, old enough to rebuild. He chooses Massachusetts, not for any dramatic reason. A cousin in Worcester offers a couch and a lead on a commercial kitchen rental. Riven takes both. He works 3 jobs for 8 months. Morning prep at a bakery, afternoon deliveries, evening shifts at a restaurant that closes at midnight. He saves everything that does not go to rent and food. He is disciplined in a way that impresses the people around him, though he does not think of it as discipline. He thinks of it as forward motion. If he stops moving, the quiet catches up with him. By the time he is 22, he has enough to open something small. He finds a narrow storefront on a side street in Whitmore, Massachusetts. The kind of street that gets foot traffic from the office buildings 2 blocks over at lunchtime, and from the neighborhood itself in the evenings. He paints the inside himself. He names it after nothing in particular. He keeps the menu tight. 10 items, all of them good. Nothing he cannot execute alone on a bad day. He is the only employee for the first year. The cafe becomes the kind of place that people return to. Not because it is trendy, because it is reliable, because the food is honest and the space is quiet, and Riven himself has a presence that makes people feel like they are allowed to take their time. He is good at this. He always has been. He is 24 when everything gets strange again. He is watching the small television mounted above the espresso machine, something he put up for background noise during slow afternoons, when a financial news segment comes on. He is not paying close attention. He is counting change and half listening to the anchor talk about overnight market movement, a crypto surge that apparently blindsided analysts who follow this sector full-time. Then a symbol appears on the screen, behind the anchor's head, in the corner of a graphic showing an unknown investor's digital holdings. Riven looks up. His hand goes still on the register. The symbol on the screen is circular, layered, 3 small lines pressed into the edge. He knows that symbol. He has been carrying it in his pocket for 6 years. The anchor is still talking. She is saying something about an anonymous market force, a new name circulating in high finance spaces, a figure who has moved enough capital in 72 hours to shift indices that take institutions years to influence. She says the name is not confirmed. She says sources describe this person as young, disciplined, and entirely invisible to public record. The segment ends. Riven is still standing at the register with the coin in his hand. He does not remember taking it out of his pocket. He looks at the symbol. He looks at the blank screen. His heart is not racing. It is doing something slower and more complicated than that. The next morning, he opens the cafe at 7 as usual. He pulls the espresso shots. He arranges the pastry case. He greets the first 3 customers by name. He does all of this the same way he always does. But when the lunch rush clears and the cafe goes quiet, he sits at the counter and opens his phone and searches the name the anchor half mentioned. The search returns almost nothing. Just 1 line in a financial forum. A username. A speculation thread. And at the bottom of the thread, posted 6 months ago by an anonymous account, a single sentence that Riven reads 3 times before he sets his phone face down on the counter. It says, "Draven Cross does not lose. He was built not to." Riven sits with that for a long time. Outside, a delivery truck rumbles past. A woman pushes a stroller. 2 kids from the middle school around the corner press their faces against the cafe window the way they do every Thursday, before he waves them in for free hot chocolate. Everything is the same, and something is completely different. That evening, after close, Riven pulls out the coin and sets it on the counter under the light. He looks at the symbol for the first time in a long time, with intention rather than habit. He has looked at it 100 times over the years. But this is different. This time, he is not looking at it like a memory. He is looking at it like a message. He goes home. He does not sleep. At 2 a.m., his phone lights up with a news notification from a financial outlet he subscribed to years ago and forgets he follows. He almost ignores it. He doesn't. The headline reads, "Unknown crypto billionaire reshapes market overnight. Identity still unconfirmed." Riven stares at the headline until the screen goes dark. Then he picks up the coin. And for the first time in 6 years, he thinks he understands what the boy with the broken sneaker meant when he said the what is the important part first. Nobody sees Draven Cross coming. That is the point. By the time financial analysts have his name spelled correctly, he has already moved. By the time the press starts asking questions, the answers are 2 decisions behind. He operates in the space between what people are watching and what is actually happening, and he has been doing this since he was 15 years old with a stolen laptop and a prepaid internet card in a room with no heat. He is 21 when the first number that matters gets attached to his name. Not a salary, not a fund, a position, a holding. Something in the crypto architecture so precisely timed that 3 separate analysts working independently describe it later using the same word: surgical. He bought in when the asset was invisible to mainstream capital and sold a fraction before the peak with a precision that should not be possible without inside information. Investigators look. They find nothing. Because there is nothing to find. Draven does not trade on information. He trades on pattern. He reads systems the way other people read faces. Fast, instinctive, already 3 expressions ahead. He is not alone. There are 3 of them who move together. Caspian Morrow, quiet, architectural in thinking, the one who builds the structures that hold the capital. Zenith Aldane, fast, aggressive, the one who takes positions that make other traders nervous and is usually right. And Broderick Cole, the oldest of the 3, the one with the contacts, the one who knows which doors exist before they are built. They are all alphas. They found each other in a system that was supposed to contain them, and instead, they used it as a classroom. Together they are not loud, they are not public, they do not appear in profiles or panels or podcasts. Their names appear in documents that do not circulate widely, in LLC registrations and holding company structures that lead to other structures. Journalists who try to follow the trail describe it later as trying to track smoke. Draven is the center of it. Not because he demands to be, but because the other 3 understand, without it ever being said directly, that he sees something they do not. He sees the whole board, not just the current position, the position 3 moves from now, the position after that. He is 23 when the number changes from significant to historic. The crypto move is the one people point to. 72 hours, 3 markets, a coordinated series of buys and sells so precisely sequenced that the net effect is a market shift that takes institutional players with 100-year histories entirely off guard. The number attached to it, when it is finally calculated and confirmed and reconfirmed, is the kind of number that does not feel real until you stop trying to count the zeros. By the time anyone is saying Draven Cross in the same sentence as billionaire, he is already somewhere else, not geographically, mentally. He has moved past that position. He is already building the next thing. He wears Prada because it is precise, Dior because it is architectural. He drives a Tesla because it is the clearest signal available in American consumer culture that you are operating in a different economic atmosphere, without having to announce it in conversation. He has a watch that costs more than most annual salaries, and he does not wear it to impress anyone. He wears it because it keeps perfect time, and perfect time matters to him in a specific way that people who have never been truly hungry do not always understand. When you grow up without control over anything, precision becomes sacred. He does not give interviews. He does not post on social media under his real name. He does not attend the galas or the panels or the summits where powerful people perform their power for each other. He is not interested in the performance. He is interested in the mechanics. The three alphas around him understand this. They do not push him toward visibility. They are building something that visibility would complicate. What they are building specifically is a system, not just financial, structural. The kind of thing that, once it is complete, becomes infrastructure. Invisible because it is everywhere. Untouchable because it is necessary. Draven is the architect, and he is 24 years old. There is one thing the analysts and the journalists and the competing fund managers who track his moves do not know about him. One detail that does not appear in any document or filing or secondhand account. Every few months, usually late at night, he opens a specific file on his personal laptop. It is not a financial model. It is not a strategy document. It is a map, a single city, a single street, a food cart on the corner of West 47th and St. Lawrence in Chicago, Illinois. He checks if it is still there. It always is. Until one day, it isn't. He searches, quietly the way he does everything. He finds a business registration in Massachusetts, a cafe, a small storefront on a side street in a town called Whitmore, filed under the name Riven Hale. Draven sits with that information for longer than he has sat with anything in months. Then he makes a call, not to Caspian or Zenith or Broderick. A different call. A property call. 2 weeks later, Draven Cross purchases a commercial building 4 blocks from Riven's cafe. He does not tell anyone why. He does not have to. 3 black Teslas turn onto Clement Street at 11:47 in the morning, and the sound of them is the first thing, that specific electric hum that is quieter than an engine but somehow louder than silence in a street like this one. Riven is behind the counter refilling the sugar caddies. He does not look up immediately. The cafe is half full, soft conversation, the espresso machine running, a woman near the window typing on a laptop, 2 guys from the construction site down the block splitting a sandwich at the corner table. Riven is present in all of it the way he always is, aware, moving, part of the room's rhythm. The door opens, cold air, and then a scent that does not belong here. It is not bad. It is the opposite of bad. It is deep and mineral and warm underneath, like cedar and something older than cedar. And it arrives before the person does, and Riven's body registers it a full second before his mind catches up. He goes still. Not frozen, still. The way you go still when something at the edge of your hearing is not quite resolved yet. He looks up. The man walking through the door is tall. Not exaggerated, not built for spectacle, just tall in the way that fills a doorway naturally. Dark complexion, sharp jaw. He is wearing a coat that costs more than a month of Riven's rent, and he wears it the way people wear things when money is old news, like it is just fabric. Behind him, 2 other men enter and take positions near the door without being asked. They are not bodyguards in the theatrical sense. They are just men who stand where they are needed without drawing attention to the fact that they are doing it. The tall man in the coat scans the room once. Then his eyes land on Riven. Riven's hand is on the sugar caddy. He does not move it. The man walks to the counter. He does not look at the menu board. He does not look at the pastry case. He looks at Riven with an expression that is complicated in a way Riven cannot immediately read, like someone doing math in real time and not liking the answer the numbers keep producing. "What can I get you?" Riven asks. His voice is level. He is good at level. The man does not answer right away. He is still doing that complicated thing with his expression. Up close, Riven can see that his eyes are dark brown, with something lighter at the edges, almost amber, and they are sharp in the specific way that eyes get sharp when they have been trained, deliberately, over a long time, to miss nothing. "Coffee," the man says finally. "Black." His voice is low, rough at the edges. Riven turns to the machine. His hands remember the motion. Pull the shot, temperature, timing. He has done this 10,000 times. His body runs the process while his mind does something it has not done in years. Chases a sound. A specific texture of voice, rough at the edges. Too rough for the age attached to it. He turns back around and sets the cup on the counter. The man is still watching him. "Anything else?" Riven says. A pause, shorter than it feels. "You've been here long?" 3 years, Riven says. "Before that?" Riven tilts his head slightly. "That's a lot of questions for a coffee order." The man almost smiles. Something moves at the corner of his mouth and then goes back to where it came from. He picks up the cup. His fingers wrap around it and Riven's eyes drop automatically. Habit, reflex, reading people the way he always reads people. And he sees the scar on the back of the man's left hand. Small, old. 2 thin lines pressed into the skin like someone did it deliberately. Like 3 lines pressed into silver. The blood leaves Riven's face before he can stop it. He looks up. The man is already watching him, and his expression has shifted into something that is no longer complicated. It is careful, controlled. The face of someone who has trained himself not to show what is happening inside him, and who is now working very hard at that training. He says it quietly, almost to himself. "You look familiar." The woman near the window closes her laptop. The 2 construction workers finish their sandwich and push back their chairs. The espresso machine steams once and goes quiet. The whole room does its regular afternoon shift toward the door. Coats and bags, thank yous and see you tomorrows. And Riven stands on his side of the counter while the world moves around him and does not move himself. He cannot speak yet. Because the voice is right. The eyes are right. The certainty in it, the flatness, the way the sentence lands like a statement of confirmed fact rather than a genuine question. It is all right. 12 years older and dressed in a coat worth a fortune and standing inside a life that should be impossible for a boy who slept in different places and kept his hood up in weather that did not need it. But it is right. Riven knows it is right. He opens his mouth, and from somewhere behind him, from the small back hallway that leads to the kitchen, from the direction of the bathroom where Riven sent him 4 minutes ago with instructions to wash his hands before lunch, comes the sound of small feet on hardwood. The child comes around the corner, fast, the way 4-year-olds always move. No announcement, no transition, just suddenly present, appearing from the hallway with both hands still slightly damp and his sneakers untied again because he always unties them within 10 minutes of Riven tying them, and has done this every single day for as long as Riven can remember. He stops when he sees the man at the counter. Most children, meeting a stranger in a space they consider safe, do one of 2 things. They retreat to the familiar person, or they watch from a distance with that specific wide-eyed calculation that children use when they are deciding whether something is a threat. Zaylin does neither. He stands in the middle of the cafe floor and looks at the man in the expensive coat with an expression that is not cautious and not afraid and not particularly surprised. It is something closer to recognition, the kind of look that should not be possible on a face that has only been a face for 4 years. His eyes are silver, not gray, not light brown with gray undertones, silver, the particular cool metallic shade that people stop and comment on, that strangers in grocery stores and parks and waiting rooms always feel the need to mention, that Riven has stopped trying to explain because there is no clean explanation for it. Silver eyes, sharp jaw, already forming under the baby softness of his face. And a scent, even at 4 years old, already beginning to announce itself to anyone in the room capable of reading it, that is deep and mineral and warm underneath. The man at the counter has gone completely still. Not the stillness of confusion, the stillness of someone who has run a calculation so fast it has lapped the conscious mind and delivered a result that the body believes before the brain is ready to confirm it. Zaylin takes 3 steps forward. Riven moves. Hey! He comes around the counter fast, not running but fast, and crouches down and puts both hands on Zaylin's shoulders and turns him gently. A redirection, smooth and practiced, the move of a parent who has redirected this particular child 100 times. Go get your bag from the back, okay? We're going to eat in a few minutes. Zaylin looks at him, then looks past him at the man. Daddy? He says. Not a question, not a guess. A fact. Stated the way his father once stated everything. Flat, certain, already confirmed in some private interior place before the word left his mouth. The cafe is empty now, except for the 3 of them and the 2 men still standing near the door. One of those men makes a small movement. The other puts a hand on his arm and stops him. Riven straightens up. He does not turn around yet. He keeps his eyes on Zaylin and his voice very, very steady. Go get your bag, baby. Zaylin looks at his face for a moment with those silver eyes, reading him the way he always reads him. Too accurately for his age, too quietly for a child, like he was born already understanding that adults carry things they do not say out loud. He turns, walks back toward the hallway. Riven turns around. The man, Draven, the name is Draven, and Riven knows this now with the same certainty he knew it the moment he saw the scar on the back of his hand, is looking at the hallway where Zaylin disappeared. His jaw is set hard. His eyes are doing the calculation again. But this time, there is no controlling the result. It is already on his face. It is already everywhere. He looks at Riven. Riven looks back. Neither of them speaks for a long moment. Then, from the back hallway, Zaylin's small voice floats out, with the specific carrying power that children's voices have in quiet spaces. He smells like home. Draven does not move for 4 full seconds. That is a long time. For a man who processes everything fast, who built an empire on the ability to receive information and respond before the market blinks, 4 seconds of complete stillness is a lifetime. Riven counts them. He does not mean to. He just does. 1. Draven's eyes are still on the hallway where Zaylin disappeared. 2. His jaw tightens. The muscle in it jumps once. 3. His hand, the one with the scar, closes around the coffee cup so slowly that the knuckles shift color. 4. He looks at Riven. And Riven has been braced for a lot of things in the 6 years since Pookie disappeared from that Chicago corner. He has been braced for nothing, for silence, for a door that never opens. He has raised a child alone, on 4 hours of sleep and cafe margins, and the specific, exhausting courage it takes to keep going when going is the only option available. He has been braced for hard things. He has not been braced for the look on Draven Cross's face right now. Because it is not anger, it is not denial. It is not the cold calculation of a billionaire doing damage control. It is the face of someone who has just walked into a room and found something they thought they had lost permanently. And the finding is not relief. It is worse than loss in a specific way, because loss you can build a life around. This is the thing that makes every structure you built to survive the loss suddenly unnecessary. And the unnecessary is the most disorienting thing in the world. He knows. Riven can see that he knows. Not suspects, not wonders, knows. The timeline lives in his face. The math is already done. 4 years old. Silver eyes. That scent. That face already shaping itself into something that will, in 10 years, look exactly like the man standing on the other side of this counter. Draven sets the cup down. He says, very quietly, "How old?" Not a question, a confirmation request. The distinction matters. 4, Riven says. Draven closes his eyes. 1 second. 2. Opens them. His name. Zaylin. Something moves across Draven's face at that. Not visible enough to name, just a shift, like a building settling. The 2 men near the door are very still. They are trained to be still. But even trained stillness has a quality to it, and the quality right now is held breath. Riven does not look away from Draven. He is not going to look away. He spent 4 years making every decision alone, every 3 a.m. decision, every sick child decision, every I don't know how to do this decision alone. He is not going to look away now. "You should go," Riven says. Draven looks at him. "Not because I'm asking nicely," Riven says. "Because Zaylin is 4 and he doesn't understand what's happening, and I need to talk to him before anything else happens in front of him. So you should go, and then we can talk. But right now, you need to go." A long pause. Draven picks up the cup, finishes the coffee in one swallow, sets it back down with a precision that is somehow more controlled than anything else in the room. He turns toward the door. He stops. He does not turn back around. He speaks to the door. "I'll be back tomorrow." It is not a threat. It is not a request. It is the same flat certainty Riven heard on a rainy night in Chicago when a 12-year-old boy said, "I'll marry you when I'm rich," like he was reading from a document he had already signed. He leaves. The 2 men follow. The door closes. Riven stands in the empty cafe and listens to 3 electric cars pull away from the curb, that quiet hum fading into the ordinary street noise until it is gone completely. Then he sits down on the floor behind the counter. Not dramatically. He just needs to be lower than standing for a moment. He pulls the silver coin from his pocket, sets it on the tile in front of him, looks at it. From the back hallway comes the sound of small feet. Zaylin appears at the end of the counter, bag over one shoulder, eyes already scanning for Riven the way they always do when he has been out of sight for more than 2 minutes. He finds him on the floor. He comes over and sits down next to him, without asking why they are sitting on the floor. He leans in to Riven's side. He picks up the silver coin and turns it over in his small fingers, the way Riven has watched him do it a dozen times, drawn to it, without understanding why. Riven puts his arm around him. He does not cry. He does not fall apart. He sits on the floor of his cafe with his son and holds it all together, the way he has always held it all together. And the only thing that gives him away is that he stays there a little longer than he needs to. That night, after Zaylin is asleep, Riven sits at the kitchen table and stares at the ceiling for a long time. Then he opens his phone and searches Draven Cross properly. Not the half look he gave it 2 years ago. All of it. Everything public. He reads for 2 hours. The market positions, the holding companies, the 3 alpha partners, Caspian, Zenith, Broderick. The property purchase 4 blocks away. The timeline. The age. The origin that no profile ever fully traces because the origin leads back to a Chicago street and a boy in a broken hoodie that nobody official ever tracked. He closes the phone. He looks at the dark window. He thinks about what a 4-year-old child said to a stranger with absolute certainty. He thinks about the scar on the back of Draven's hand. He thinks about the coin. He does not sleep at all. Draven is back at 9 the next morning, before the cafe opens. He is alone this time. No convoy. No men at the door. Just him, standing on the sidewalk in a charcoal coat, with his hands in his pockets, when Riven unlocks the front door and finds him there. He is clearly not slept. Riven can see that. There is a specific quality to a face that has been awake all night, running the same calculation over and over. And Draven has it. Riven steps back from the door. Draven comes in. Zaylin is at his uncle's place for the morning. Riven arranged that last night. He is not doing this conversation in front of his son. He goes behind the counter, starts a pot of coffee. Not because either of them needs it, but because having something to do with his hands keeps the room from collapsing under the weight of everything that needs to be said. Draven sits at the counter. He does not take his coat off. He puts both hands flat on the counter surface and looks at them for a moment, like he is organizing something. Then he starts talking. What comes out is not an excuse. Riven has been half expecting excuses. The careful, lawyer-shaped language of a man with resources who needs to manage a situation. That is not what this is. Draven talks the way he has apparently always talked. Flat, direct, confirmed in advance. He was 11 when the men came. He was taken in the night by people who were not police and not exactly not police either. The kind of operation that exists in the specific gray space between systems, funded by the kind of money that makes official investigation inconvenient. He was not alone. There were others. Children who had been identified for a specific program, a pipeline, that took kids with certain measurable qualities, pattern recognition, risk tolerance, the specific kind of intelligence that hunger sharpens rather than dulls, and routed them into a financial training network that was several things at once, not all of them legal. He did not have a choice about going. He did not have a choice about staying. By the time he had enough leverage to leave, he was 16, and the thing he had built inside the system was already too valuable to walk away from without a plan. He spent the next 3 years building the plan. At 19, he walked out with Caspian, Zenith, and Broderick, and everything they had built together, and he never went back. He could not contact anyone from before. That was the condition of surviving inside the system and the condition of getting out of it. Any contact was a signal. A signal was a risk. A risk was a target. Not on him, on them. On anyone he reached back toward. Riven listens to all of this without speaking. The coffee finishes. He pours 2 cups, slides one across the counter. Draven wraps both hands around it. "I looked for you," Draven says, "when I got out. The cart was gone. No registration trace. I had Caspian run a full search. Nothing came back for almost a year." He pauses. By the time I found the cafe registration, Zaylin was already 3. Riven is quiet for a long moment. Then, I know you're about to tell me you're here now, and that you can provide things, and that you want to be part of his life. He looks at Draven. I know that's coming. Draven looks back at him. It's coming. Okay. Riven nods slowly. Then let me tell you something first. He comes around the counter, not aggressive. He just does not want the counter between them for this part. He sits on the stool next to Draven and looks at him directly, the way he has looked at hard things his entire life. Straight on, no angle. I was 20 years old when I found out I was pregnant, he says. I had a couch at my cousin's and 3 jobs and enough money to cover rent and not much else. I didn't know your last name. I didn't know if you were alive. I named him Zaylin because I needed to give him something that was just his, that didn't have a question mark attached to it. He pauses. I raised him for 4 years, alone. Every decision, every fever at 2 a.m., every first word, first step, first nightmare. Every day he asked me a question I didn't have an answer to. I did all of that alone. Draven's jaw is set. His eyes do not move from Riven's face. And now you're here, Riven says, and you have a convoy and a coat and a building 4 blocks from my cafe and 3 alpha partners and enough capital to buy this entire street. He lets that sit for 1 beat. And you want to come back. Yes, Draven says. Riven looks at him. You came back when it was easy, he says. The sentence lands in the room like something dropped from a height. Draven opens his mouth, closes it. I'm not saying that to hurt you, Riven says. I'm saying it because it's true, and you need to hear it before anything else happens. Coming back with money is not the same as coming back. Coming back with power is not the same as earning the right to walk back into someone's life. Into his life. He pauses. You can't buy your way into 4 years you weren't here for. That's not how it works. The cafe is very quiet. Outside, the street is waking up. A bus, someone's car, the coffee shop 2 doors down pulling up its metal gate with that grinding sound it makes every morning. Draven looks at his hands. Then he looks up. And what is on his face now is not the controlled blankness of the man who walked in. It is not the billionaire's expression. It is older than that, younger than that. It is the face of a boy who slept in different places and kept his hood up and watched the world with eyes too sharp for his age because sharp eyes were the only protection available. No, he says quietly, it's not. He picks up the coffee, drinks it, sets it down. But I'm not leaving, he says. Not again. Riven looks at him for a long time. Then he stands up and goes back behind the counter because the morning prep will not do itself, and he has a cafe to open. He does not tell Draven to leave. That is the only answer either of them needs right now. 3 days later, Caspian calls. Draven is sitting in the empty building he purchased 4 blocks from the cafe, on a folding chair in the middle of a bare concrete floor, laptop open, working. He does this sometimes, finds an empty space and works in it. Too much furniture makes him feel like the walls are closing. He answers on the second ring. Caspian does not say hello. None of them do. It is a habit from years of operating in environments where unnecessary words were a liability. The Hargrove Group is asking for confirmation, Caspian says. Draven knows what that means. The Hargrove Group is the last piece of the infrastructure play. A closed network financial consortium that has been courting the 4 of them for 8 months. The deal on the table is structured participation, not a merger, a positioning. The kind of arrangement that, once entered, changes the operational landscape permanently. More reach, more protection, more leverage, more obligation. Tell them we're still in deliberation, Draven says. A pause. longer than usual. Draven. Caspian's voice is careful. He is the most measured of the three, and when he gets careful, it means something. The window closes in 6 days. If we don't confirm, they move to the secondary list and we lose the position entirely. This doesn't come back around. I know. The number attached to this. I know the number, Caspian. Another pause. Is this about the cafe? Caspian asks. Draven does not answer immediately. We did background, Caspian says. Not accusatory, factual. We do background on everything in proximity. The child's age, the timeline, He stops. Zenith thinks you should close the loop and move. Broderick hasn't said anything, which means he agrees with Zenith and doesn't want to say it to you directly. What do you think? Draven asks. A long pause. I think, Caspian says slowly, that you have been the most precise person I have ever worked with for 9 years. And I think that precision came from somewhere. And I think whatever is happening 4 blocks from that building you're sitting in right now is that somewhere. He pauses again. I also think the Hargrove deal is real, and the window is real, and you need to make a decision. Draven closes the laptop. He looks at the bare concrete floor, the empty walls, the way the afternoon light comes in through the high windows and hits the ground in long rectangles. He thinks about a rainy night in Chicago, an awning, a boy with an honest face who gave him food without making him feel the weight of it. He thinks about a promise he made because he meant it, because even at 11 years old, in a life that had given him very little to mean anything about, he meant that one thing completely. He thinks about silver eyes and the word home, said with the certainty of 4 years of accumulated fact. He thinks about Riven, sitting on the stool beside him saying, "You came back when it was easy," in a voice that was not angry, just precise, just true, the way truth sounds when it is delivered by someone who has had years to organize it. He puts the phone to his ear. "Tell Hargrove we're out," he says. Total silence on the line. Then Caspian says, very carefully, "That's a final?" "That's a final." He hangs up. He sits in the empty building for another hour, not because he is uncertain, because he wants to sit with the decision the way you sit with something you have carried a long time after you finally put it down. He wants to feel the weight of it and the weightlessness after it in the same moment. Then he picks up his coat and walks 4 blocks. The cafe is in the middle of the afternoon quiet. 2 customers at separate tables, the soft background noise of the espresso machine, the smell of coffee and something sweet Riven bakes in-house on Thursdays. Riven is behind the counter wiping down the surface, and he looks up when the door opens, and his expression does what it always does now when Draven walks in. Goes careful. Not cold, careful. The distinction is everything. Draven sits at the counter. Zaylin is in the back. Riven mentioned yesterday that Thursdays are the day he brings him to the cafe after pickup, lets him sit at the small table near the kitchen and draw while the afternoon passes. Draven could hear him back there. Small sounds, the scrape of a crayon, occasional narration of whatever he was drawing, delivered to nobody in particular in the running commentary that 4-year-olds produce as naturally as breathing. Riven pours a cup without being asked. Draven puts both hands around it. "I turned down a deal today," he says. Riven looks at him. "What kind of deal?" "The kind that would have made the last 9 years make financial sense and personal sense impossible." Riven is quiet for a moment. He folds the countercloth, sets it down. "I'm not going to thank you for that," he says. "I know. Because you shouldn't have been in a position where that was a trade-off in the first place. I know that too." Riven looks at him for a long time, reading him the way he always reads people, slowly, without showing the process. Why did you turn it down? Draven looks at the cup. Because Zaylin said I smelled like home, he says, and I have spent 9 years building things that are supposed to last. And I don't want the thing that lasts to be the wrong thing. The cafe is quiet. From the back, Zaylin's small voice narrates something about a dragon and a very fast car, and a person who is tall and has a coat. Riven's mouth does something that is almost a smile before he catches it. Draven hears it too. He does not smile, but something in his face does. What do you want? Riven asks, not challenging, asking. I want to start where I should have started, Draven says, at the beginning, whatever that looks like now. Riven picks up the countercloth again, not because it needs folding, because he needs a moment. That's a slow road, he says. I know. I'm not going to make it easy. I know that too. Riven looks at him. If you disappear again, I won't. You can't promise that. You promised things before, and the world moved anyway. Draven nods. Then I won't promise. I'll just be here tomorrow, and the day after, and you can decide what that means based on the evidence. Riven stares at him for a long, hard moment. Then he puts a pastry on the counter in front of him, the good one. The almond one he only puts out on Thursdays. He does not say anything about it. He just turns back to his work. Draven eats the pastry and drinks the coffee and listens to his son narrate a story in the back room. And for the first time in 9 years, the silence around him does not feel like strategy. It feels like the start of something. A week passes, then 2. Draven comes every morning before open and every evening near close. He does not push, he does not perform. He sits at the counter and drinks his coffee and sometimes talks and sometimes does not. And Riven lets it happen at the pace it happens, because he is not a man who moves faster than the evidence warrants. Zaylin makes up his own mind. He does this on a Tuesday, which is unremarkable in every other way. He comes out of the back with a drawing, crayon on construction paper, orange and blue, the kind of image that requires explanation to decipher, and he walks past 2 empty stools and climbs up onto the one directly next to Draven and puts the drawing on the counter in front of him. That's you, Zaylin says, pointing to the tall blue shape. And that's Dad. He points to the smaller orange one. And that's me. He points to a tiny yellow mark between the two. I put us together because that made the picture look right. Draven looks at the drawing for a long time. Then he looks at Zaylin. Can I keep it? He asks. Zaylin considers this seriously, the way he considers everything seriously. Then he nods once and climbs back off the stool and goes back to the kitchen like the matter is settled. Riven, who's been watching all of this from the far end of the counter while pretending to inventory the pastry case, turns away before either of them can see his face. That evening, after close, Draven stays, not inside, on the sidewalk, while Riven locks up, Zaylin asleep against Draven's shoulder with the full-body bonelessness that only sleeping children achieve. One small fist curled into the lapel of the expensive coat like he has been doing it for years. Riven locks the door, turns around. He looks at them. Draven looks back at him over the top of Zaylin's head. There is no calculation in his face right now, no control, just the open, slightly overwhelmed expression of a person holding something they did not know they were allowed to have. Riven walks over. He takes Zaylin carefully, the transfer practiced and smooth on his end, fumbling slightly on Draven's, and settles the boy against his own shoulder. Zaylin does not wake up. They stand on the sidewalk in the evening quiet. "He's heavier than he looks," Draven says. "He ate 3 portions of rice today," Riven says. "He always gets heavier on Tuesdays." A pause. Then Draven says, "Can I walk you home?" Riven looks at him. It is such a simple question, after everything. The convoy, the coat, the $1 billion deal turned down, the 9 years of distance and the 4 years of absence, and the coin, and the promise, and all of it. "Can I walk you home?" is the simplest possible question. Riven shifts Zalen on his shoulder. "It's 3 blocks, he says. "I know. You own a building 4 blocks in the other direction." "I know that too." Riven looks at him for one more moment. Then he starts walking. Draven falls into step beside him. They walk 3 blocks in the evening air with a sleeping child between them and the ordinary sounds of a Massachusetts street in the background. A television through an open window, a dog somewhere, the distant rhythm of someone's music fading in and out. They do not talk. There is nothing that needs to be said right now that has not already been said, and both of them know it, and neither of them rushes toward the next thing. At the door of Riven's building they stop. Riven shifts his weight to get the keys. Draven is already holding them out. He picked them up off the counter when Riven's hands were full, the way a person who is paying attention does, the way a person who is learning the rhythms of another person's life does without announcing it. Riven takes the keys. He looks at Draven. "Same time tomorrow?" Draven asks. Riven opens the door. "You know where the cafe is," he says. He goes inside. He stands in the hallway, with Zalen heavy and warm against his shoulder, and hears Draven's footsteps on the sidewalk moving away. Not fast, steady. He leans his back against the wall. He looks up at the ceiling, and for the first time in longer than he can accurately count, something in the bottom of his chest does not feel like the shape of a missing thing. It feels like the beginning of a shape that is being built. 6 months later, the coin is framed. Riven does it himself. A small shadow box, dark wood, hung on the wall beside the cafe counter where the morning light hits it at an angle that makes the silver catch. He does not label it. He does not explain it to customers who ask. He just says it belonged to someone he used to know, which is true, and also not the whole truth, which is fine. Zalen knows the whole truth now. Not all of it. He is 4, and then 5, and the version he gets is the version a 5-year-old can hold without it being heavy. He knows that Draven is his father. He knows that Draven was gone for a long time, not because he wanted to be. He knows that Riven was there every day, and Draven is here now. And both of those things are true at the same time, and neither one cancels the other out. He holds this with the specific grace that children hold complicated truths when the adults around them are honest about the complication. Draven does not move in. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. That is not how this is being built. What he does is show up. Every day he said he would. Every time something comes up that he can help with, he helps. He learns Zalen's rhythms, the untied sneakers, the Tuesday portions, the specific crayon colors he goes through fastest, the nightmare that comes sometimes on Wednesday nights that requires a particular song Riven hums that Draven now knows the melody of, but does not yet know all the words to. He is learning the words. Riven watches him learn, and does not make it easier than it is, and does not make it harder than it has to be. He is done performing strength he does not have on any given day. He tells Draven when something is hard. He tells him when he needs space. He tells him when Zalen had a bad day, and what kind of presence helps versus what kind of presence makes it worse. He is building a language with someone he never expected to be building a language with, and it is slow, and it is imperfect, and it is the most honest thing he has done in years. Caspian and Zenith and Broderick restructure. The Hargrove deal disappears into the past without the consequence any of them predicted, because Draven's read on the window was right, as his reads tend to be, and the consortium overplayed its hand inside of 3 months, and the secondary list wishes it had never confirmed. Draven does not say, "I told you so." He does not have to. He builds something different instead, smaller in one dimension, larger in another. Something that does not require him to be invisible to function. He is present now, publicly, carefully, on his own terms. His name is attached to things that bear his name. He gives one interview, exactly one, to a financial outlet that has been asking for 4 years. He talks about pattern recognition and patience and the difference between building fast and building right. He does not mention Chicago. He does not mention the coin or the cart or the boy in the blue hoodie. Some things are not for interviews. Some things are just yours. One morning in November, a year to the month from the day the Teslas turned onto Clement Street, Riven opens the cafe and finds Draven already there. Not outside, inside. He has a key now, earned slowly, offered the same way Riven offers everything, without announcement, just present one day as a fact. He has made coffee. The espresso machine is running, and 2 cups are on the counter, and the pastry case is stocked because he stopped at the supplier on the way, and Riven did not ask him to. But Riven also mentioned last Thursday that the Thursday delivery has been running late. He was paying attention. Riven stands in the doorway for a moment and looks at the cafe, at the morning light on the counters, at the framed coin catching silver on the wall, at Draven standing behind the espresso machine with his expensive watch and his everyday presence like he is exactly where he is supposed to be. Zaylin pushes past Riven's legs and runs straight to Draven without slowing down, sneakers already untied, bag bouncing. Draven catches him. He does it right this time. Easy. Like he has been doing it long enough for the wait to be familiar. Riven steps inside, lets the door close behind him. He does not say anything yet. He takes the cup from the counter, drinks the coffee. It is exactly right. He mentioned once, in passing 3 months ago, how he takes it, and Draven heard it and has never made it wrong since. He looks at the man across the counter, the man who was once a boy in a broken hoodie on a Chicago street corner, who said impossible things with absolute certainty and meant every one of them. He thinks about a rainy night and a promise made in the small, flat voice of someone who had nothing and still offered something. He thinks about what it costs to come back. Not the money, not the distance, the daily work of showing up for a life you almost missed. The slow, unglamorous, deeply human work of earning what you want instead of buying it. He thinks about his son, laughing in Draven's arms right now, untied sneakers kicking in the air. He sets his cup down, and the thing that has been building in the bottom of his chest for 6 months, that shape that is not the shape of a missing thing anymore, settles into something that finally has a name. It is not fixed. It is not finished. It is not the kind of resolution that comes wrapped clean with a bow. It is messier than that, and quieter than that, and more real than that. But it is theirs, and in the end, that is the only kind that holds. Because sometimes the real wealth is not what you build in the years you were chasing something. It is what you come back for before it is too late to come back at all. If this story moved you, if Riven's strength or Zaylin's words or even that silver coin meant something to you today, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this one. Every week there is something new here. Stories that hold weight, stories that ask real questions, stories that remind you what actually matters. And in the comments, tell me this. What was the moment in this story that hit you hardest? Because someone else reading your answer might need to hear exactly what you have to say. Share it. You never know who you are inspiring just by speaking your truth.